We all returned here to Washington last week after, in my case, spending 5 weeks in the state of Montana. It's always great being in Montana, being able to get around the state and visit with folks and see the challenges that they're dealing with on a daily basis. And hear directly from them. And I can tell you that one of the things I heard a lot about was Montana's an ag state, and it was the price of grain, the price of cattle. The marketplace is very, very depressed, and it doesn't matter. Montana's a big state. It doesn't matter what corner of the state you're in. We've got some challenges, and those challenges have been brought about by really, really bad public policy when it comes to tariffs. What these tariffs have done is they've increased the price of steel, for example, which increases the price of the equipment that folks in agriculture and everybody has to buy. And on the other side of the coin, because of the tariffs that are put on ag commodities, it's driven all ag commodities down. The tariffs on soy, for example, have driven all the commodities down, including wheat, which we raise a lot of in Montana, but also pulse crops and everything. In fact, when I was determining what we were going to plant this spring, I was trying to find what we could make money off of, and quite frankly, commodity prices are down across the board, and there wasn't anything that you could turn a profit on. And I don't say that being a farmer that wants to complain about prices, because we do that occasionally. But I say that because the price of hard red ordinary winter wheat, which probably doesn't mean much to anybody unless you're in agriculture, is about the same price it was in May of 1978 when I took the farm over. And that's not inflation adjusted prices. That's what it's selling for, a little over $3.50 a bushel. And if you take a look back at 1978, it doesn't take a nuclear physicist to figure out that things cost a little less back then. You could buy a car for probably about 15% of what you're paying for one now. And farm equipment was the same way. It's far, far, far less expensive. My dad bought a brand new four-wheel drive tractor, for example, 3 years early in 1975. He paid about $20,000 for it. And today that tractor would run you north of $200,000. So we've got a lot of challenges out there. And it all starts with the price of ag commodities. And it isn't like Mother Nature frowned on us all and put us into a drought or put a hailstorm on us or put locusts on us. It's all man-made. And I think most people in this body would tell you that what's going on with China right now, even though China does need to be held accountable, we can't do it alone. We have to bring our allies in, and that's why it's not working. And that's why commodities prices are in the tank. And so why should anybody care if you're not involved in agriculture? You know, there's an old bumper sticker that was on a car a few decades ago that says, if you eat, you're involved in agriculture, and that is a fact. If you want to talk about things like food security and being able to have food on the shelves, those family farmers are critically important. And if you force them out of business, that's more consolidation. That's less people living in rural America. That's a problem. And it's less certainty with our food supply. We feed the world for good reason, because there's a lot of family farmers out there that work very, very hard each and every day. And we overproduce. And the overproduced items need to be exported. If they're not, the prices go down. And that's what we see right now. We see overproduction because we produce food. And if that food is not exported, the prices go down and they go down and they go down. And now they're prices that we had 40 years ago. Now, this administration's solution for this problem is to borrow money from our kids and write farmers checks. And I don't know a farmer out there that wants to go down to the local FSA, Farm Service Agency government office, and get a check. We do it, but that's not the preferred place. The preferred place is from the grain elevator or from the livestock auction yard. But because the prices are so low, now farmers have to have a bailout. People talk about socialism and who's advocating for socialism around here, but the fact is this is pretty much socialistic. The sad part is that the amount the farmer's getting is probably about a tenth, once again, of what they're losing in the marketplace. If we had trade, if we were out promoting trade, and if we were moving the ball forward to get rid of the excess production. But instead, it's tariff after tariff after tariff because we're trying to teach somebody a lesson, and unfortunately, because we don't have our allies on board with us, we haven't seen much success. So we've got a problem. You know, the forefathers set forth 3 co-equal branches of government. Unfortunately, I've been a bit frustrated because the legislative branch hasn't been able to do much about these tariffs. And we need to reinsert ourselves. I have a bill that I intend to drop in very soon that will empower the legislative branch. Hopefully we can get it through committee and get it to the floor. It seems that we always ask permission of the administration whether we're going to take any bills up on the floor in this body, the greatest deliberative body. Used to be, it's not anymore. When in fact we need to take the power back. We need to hold the administration, the executive branch, whether there's a Democrat in the White House or a Republican in the White House, accountable on these issues that revolve around trade. It's important because right now we're having a debate right now whether appropriations, whether we should just be a rubber stamp for the executive branch on appropriations. We've given away our power on trade. It is our job to deal with issues of trade. I'm talking about Congress's job. And so I've got a bill to bring back some of that power. Now, I will tell you, I hope tomorrow all these tariffs and trade issues go away. I don't think it's realistic. And in fact, I think we've seen a lot of our foreign trading partners that were traditionally our partners turn to other countries to get their products. I think that's a problem long term. And certainly a problem short term because we're feeling it in the short term. And when they start getting their ag commodities from Australia or Argentina or some other country, it's hard to get those customers back, even when the trade agreements have been ratified. So I would ask the executive branch to quit playing games with American agriculture. I know most of the farmers support the Trump administration, but I'm telling you, we saw a mass exodus off the farm in the 1980s with family farm agriculture because of bad policies, in part to this town. And I'm afraid we're going to see it again. I've already seen it in my neighborhood, and I think it's just the start. It is time that we start to do what we do, and that is we need to export some of this product. You know, Farmers Union was in last week, and one of the people in the Farmers Union group asked, from Montana Farmers Union, asked me, what do we do about the excess supply? Well, what we do with the excess supply is what we've always done with the excess supply. We ship it out. We export it. And when those exports dry up, we have wheat, can't get rid of soy, corn's in a pinch, and as I said earlier, all ag commodities are depressed. So while we sit here and talk about the important stuff that we talk about, just know that the American farmer, the family farmer, is hurting. And I will tell you that one thing that's made this country great is family farm agriculture. And if it gets consolidated, whether it's a family that owns tens of thousands of acres or controls tens of thousands of acres, or whether it's a corporation, it's the same thing. You got nobody living in rural America, and it impacts our food security in this country. And quite frankly, it's very bad for democracy. I invited the President to come to Montana to visit with the producers so they could hear it from their mouths. I haven't gotten a response. But the bottom line is that he needs to know that rural America is not New York City. It has challenges that if we don't do our job and get products exported, we're going to see it change, we're going to see it dry up, and we're literally going to see it blow away. It's not a step forward. It's not making this country great. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. So I hope the President comes to Montana. I hope he visits with the producers. He'll find a friendly crowd. I think most of them voted for him. And he'll be able to hear from the horse's mouth on what's happening with trade and hopefully get these trade tariffs and all the things around trade that have been negative for family farm agriculture put behind us. I think time is of the essence. It may be too late for a lot of folks, and we may see a lot of good operators no longer be able to make a living in agriculture. Time is of the essence. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.